Enjoy the taste of summer no matter what the weather when you head to Maverick for some Mountain Dew Baja Blast. You'll love the legendary, refreshing tropical lime flavor. And to make the sweetness last longer, Maverick now has it in 1-liter bottles. For a limited time, get 2 for $5. Single purchase regular price. Plus, Adventure Club members get 25 bonus trail points with purchase. So blast into Maverick today and enjoy that unmistakable Baja flavor. Maverick. Adventure's first stop.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold! Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lunid, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Mitchell Levy. He is an accomplished entrepreneur. He has created 20 businesses in Silicon Valley, and including 4 publishing companies that has published over 700 books. And he himself is an author, and he provides strategic consulting for hundreds of companies. And that he's been chairman of NASDAQ-listed companies. I mean, well-decorated man with us here today. So with no further ado, Mitchell, welcome to the show.
Oh, it's great to be here. And when appropriate, just make sure you lift Peace up a little bit so we could see how cool she is.
Yeah, we were talking off camera. She is with us today, and she's going to behave. Let's hope. So tell us, over 20 companies. You are a serial entrepreneur. Tell us about that. And
I'm going to we always talk about serial entrepreneurship, which almost by definition implies that you do one company, either close it down or sell it, and then you go to the next company. I want to make sure we understand it's important. It makes sense to do parallel entrepreneurship. So I typically would do 2, 3, sometimes 4 companies at the same time, and they would potentially sell and work off each other, but different level of services. Because for me, I love doing things in a co-creative mode. So I love finding somebody I want to play with. And typically I'll step back and I'll tell you how we do it. It's most simple, because a lot of times what happens is people say, hey, let's start a company and let's do the paperwork. And they take forever and they do the paperwork, and then they never even get clients. And so here's the thing. You meet somebody who you really adore and you want to do business with. You pick up the first client. You verbally agree as to what the business relationship will be. You deliver a solution for your client. Yeah. Now, sometime during the time frame, stuff always hits the fan with a new baby. You already know stuff always hits the fan somehow. So when that happens, does your partner say the same things you would when you're not in the room? So when you finish the engagement, was it fun? Did you like them? Do you want to do it again? If the answer to that question is yes, yes, and yes, then it's time to put a couple of contracts together and start a business. If it's no, it's like, hey, that was fun. Let's go on and do something else. So I would often have more than one company going at the same time. And it's kind of fun. Yeah.
And have you worked with the same partners? Just as you said, it was fun. Let's do this again. And you take the same partners with you to build the next business.
Sometimes not always. Here. So what happens synergistically is we all have multiple desires to do different things. And so sometimes if I find an expert in a particular area that satisfies a niche that a certain customer set that I have has, well, let's just start a business that way. And what ultimately happens is it's possible that the thought leadership and the drive may be coming from my partner versus me. I did that a lot in the publishing space, having executive editors who would run an entire series. Or one of the cool parts is running a conference company. A conferences should be focused on a particular topic area. And the partner I would typically do there would be the partner that would drive awareness and credibility, and sometimes also acted as the bank. So that's where I would go to either large conference companies, corporations themselves, or academic institutions.
Yeah. So for credibility, tell us how one can build credibility in their business, because you have great experience.
I do. I did. So the book back there, Credibility Nation, is coupled with a TEDx I did. The TEDx is called "We Are Losing Our Humanity," and I'm tired of watching it happen. See, even Peace thought that was a great thing. We are losing our exactly the time where she made some noise, right? So the thing is, I interviewed over 500 thought leaders on credibility between 2019 and 2020, and I had this amazing thought on what the simplicity of what credibility is. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to share my screen for a second.
Yeah.
And let me go back. This, for those who are watching, audio only, I'll tell you what it is. Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And there are 10 values associated with credibility. So the really interesting thing, and what we're not taught to stay singly focused. We're not taught to actually come across in such a way, because when prospects come our way, what we often do is say, "Oh, I could do that," and then somebody else comes in and they want something completely different, but you think you could. "Oh, I could do that too," and then by the time people go to introduce you, you have so many different things you're focused on. So for me, what I get excited about working with people and articulating their purpose, who they are, and how they show up, and doing that in 10 words or less. So the term I like to use is a CPOP, it's your customer point of possibilities. And if you could articulate your CPOP in 10 words or less, what happens is it makes it easy, for you to have a compass. I've got another picture I want to share. If you have a compass, then what happens is the decisions you make are pointing towards your north. If you're making decisions pointing towards your north, then what happens is you're making and demonstrating behavior that's in alignment with your compass. What's important is first to articulate your compass. So we have a course. Those people who join Credibility Nation or go to any of our other products can take the course. It's basically articulating your purpose. It's your CPOP, your customer point of possibilities. And then what's interesting is we also have something called the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp, where we encourage people to live their purpose both out loud and online, right? Mm-hmm. So what's interesting to me is when you say to somebody, "Who are you? What do you do?" and they take 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you should do it in seconds.
Yeah.
Do it in seconds, people. You could decide, this is the playground I play in. And by the way, mine is 4 words.
What is it?
See, flying like eagles. And if that's intriguing enough, then I could spend more time talking about how CEOs fly like eagles, how they work together, how they act together. And then if I get even more time, EAGLE is an acronym that basically deals with all the things that my company does. Right. So I can actually talk about everything I do, including partner work, within the framework, the EAGLE framework. Right. So what's really interesting is it's very straightforward. So when you now look at my social media, if you look at how I show up in person, it's an alignment. A lot of times when, let's say, you were telling me a product you do and things that you do. And so what I expect when I go to your website, when I go to your social media, I expect to see consistency.
Yeah.
When I go to somebody else's, let's say I have somebody who wants me to recommend them. And so I talk to them. And let's assume that they come across great in person, right? You ask them who they are and what they do, and they're just really amazing. And then before you recommend them to somebody else, you look at their website and you look at their social media, and it's crap, absolute crap. Well, you're not going to feel comfortable. You know, how many times have you done a recommendation? "Hey, this person's great. Just don't look at their website. It's really horrible." Right? It's a reflection on you, right?
Yeah.
So you want your how you show up when you're not in the room to be as consistently as positive as when you are in the room. And that is a great way to be credible, is to have people really, they trust you. That trust is because you're consistent everywhere. Have them know you. So you've got videos and other things actually showing people who you really are. Being a mom that has her child on a podcast and not canceling and redoing the podcast, that's showing who you are. That's really powerful, right? And then here's the coolest part, that they also like you. And it's important in today's world that you're working with people that you like or love.
That they can connect with you. That's showing your authenticity, right? Your real stuff. You're showing up as a human being.
Yes.
And you're tapping into some of the marketing requirement here, and that's really profound within itself, because a lot of the time people are not buying what you're selling, they're buying into you.
Yes.
Same thing with investors. You had to get investors yourself, and they're investing into the person and not so much into the product. So you have to be able to show the real you.
Agreed. Particularly as an investor, so I sat on the board of a public firm, and when we were looking at other companies to acquire, when we were looking to raise money ourselves, what investors are typically looking for, and you work with a lot of startups, what investors are looking for is they're looking for the management team that if the business idea that you initially have doesn't work, will they be able to pivot quick enough and find the idea that does work? So you're investing into the people. It's never about that perfect product that solves everything. Mm-hmm. It's about the people who are going to deploy that product that solves the right thing for the right client base.
Yeah, and that's key. And a lot of people don't take that in consideration. They focus on the product, but it's very much so important to do the branding piece of it, the messaging, to make sure that it's clear and succinct, right? So that you can get the right target. Like even with the book, with writing, you're in the publishing company for years. You don't just write a book and then it sells millions. There's steps that has to be done. There's marketing that has to be done. There's branding that has to be done. There's launch dates and PR that has to be put in place to make sure that it gets the visibility.
So I'm going to say yes, and then I'm also going to say no, if you don't mind. So here's a yes and no. There are many different reasons to write a book in today's world because of the simplicity and the democratization of book publishing. Anyone who wants to can write a book. So you're not writing a book to make money on book sales. And for every entrepreneur, you've got to recognize you're not writing a book. Nobody has within them the next J.K. Rowling's, you may, right? But there's a whole series of events that happen for you to actually make a lot of money on book sales. Where are you going to make money as an entrepreneur? Where are you going to make money as a business person? You're going to take your book and it's going to be the door opener that gets you into more speaking, more consulting, more product sales.
Lead magnet.
So if you're approaching your book that way, then what you're doing is you're creating an asset called your book that opens doors for you. And what people don't realize, it's not about getting into a bookstore. In most cases, your average client is not going to accidentally bump into a bookstore or accidentally bump into the library. If you are particularly a B2B, a business to business type approach, or if you can identify your top 20, top 50 customers, the best thing an author can do is actually, before the book is published, create FedEx envelopes, label the envelopes, write a personal note. When the book comes out, personally autograph the book, even put sticky notes on the page that's relevant to the person you're sending it to. Then send the book in and then follow through in a week or two. That strategy itself will make lots of money for entrepreneurs who are using their book effectively. It's to open the doors, show that they have expertise in the area, and went the extra mile to reach out to the audience that they really want to work with.
There has to be a personal touch to it, essentially. And what the authors, writers, or expert matters, right? They're thought leaders. What are 5 things one needs to work on to be considered a thought leader?
It's funny. I've been thinking about that, and I think about a year or two ago, I've been working with thought leaders for almost my entire time here in Silicon Valley. I was the thought leaders of thought leaders for a long period of time. And what's interesting, I've come up with the 5 C's associated with thought leadership. And so the first is credibility. We've talked about that. The second is clarity. We've also talked about that. Having clarity about who you are and how you serve is very important. Third is consistency. So making sure you can, and we talked about this too, having consistency between who you are and how you show up, both synchronously and asynchronously, and having that be the same over and over. Now, the fourth, we haven't talked about yet, although it comes out. And by the way, all of this concept, notice, comes out naturally in my conversation, comes out naturally in our conversation, the way it's being steered, because that's your job. It's not to sound like you're marketing, which marketing sometimes has a 4-letter word. Sales is sort of a 4-letter word. It's just supposed to be flowing out of who you are. So the fourth thing that's really important is curiosity. Because what worked today won't work tomorrow. Who you need to serve is going to change over time. We have such unparalleled transformation in what's happening in human society, and with technologies like AI coming in, with transformations of how we work and play with COVID. So curiosity is terribly important. And, I think, I can't belittle what curiosity means. It's actually naturally wanting to know who you serve and how to serve them and how they're changing. And then the last C for being a thought leader is having courage, because you're going to go places that other people haven't gone. You're going to say things that other people may not want to hear, or you may say stuff that's consistent. That said, you have to have the courage to not always do what everyone else says, and to find and do what's right by the audience that you serve.
Do what's right by the audience that you serve. That's what makes Amazon so great, right? That's what makes those big top companies so great. They're being customer centric.
Yes.
Per se. So the whole credibility, the 5 C's, is what it takes to be considered a thought leader, and knowing who your audience is. Tell us about some of the habits that, you think of a thought leader, somebody who's an expert, but there are habits, there are principles you have to put in place to become that, to become who you are. Practice with his morning routines. Tell us about some of the stuff, like how do you get up, dress up, and show up? Some of the things that you do in the morning.
So I like mornings where there's a little bit of time before my first meeting. So I'm gonna gravitate those mornings. Sometimes when I have meetings that start at 7 a.m. and I'm not a morning person, I don't actually get to execute my routine. So I like the mornings where there's enough time where, when I get up, I will go and grab a cup of coffee and sit in and I'll just say, my chair of joy. Right. So it's that place in your house or wherever you are that just brings you comfort. And what I think about then is I start thinking about what's popping out of my head over the night that I need to think about, that I need to jot down. I take a look at what my day looks like so I can string together. A lot of times the meetings that go back to back, I typically do 40 to 60 meetings a week. So the meetings that go back to back, there's a reason people accidentally were back to back to each other. And so sometimes I'll let meetings run over where I will let one meeting and the second meeting meet each other. Right. And so I'm just thinking about where there might be synergy during the day. And then I'm looking at the most immediate messages that pop up. After I do that, when there's enough time, I'll get on the elliptical machine to work. Sometimes I have a meeting and then I'll have to jump on the elliptical machine afterwards. And so and breakfast in the morning is sort of a health shake. So filled with a bunch of nutrients. So for me, it's coffee, it's the shake, it's preparing myself mentally for what's going to happen in a day. It's having a little bit of time in my chair of joy before I jump into my work chair. And the other part of the routine is the uniform you wear. So my uniform, because my brand has gone this way, and if you look at my slides, you'll see, I'll bring up one of my slides for those who are watching this visually. You'll see in most of my slides, there's a fedora somewhere, right? And so the brand for me is a collared shirt and the fedora. And so I need to actually get into my uniform, and then I'm ready for my day.
The uniform piece of it, it's key. It's almost like a trigger to let your brain know you're ready to execute. You're ready to take off.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I heard the exercising aspect of it. And then more importantly, was the mental stimulation, preparing you mentally to show up for the day, because that's important as a business owner, because you have 60 calls a week. That's a lot of people to show up for.
It is that my wife, my mom, my friends, when they hear the number of meetings I have, they go, oh, I can't do that. And for me, I'm going to say, I'm not sure how I could not do that. What happens when when I talk to somebody and I really get to see them, I'm actually getting energy. Mm-hmm. I get excited when, particularly if I'm sitting with somebody and I'm hearing what their purpose is and it's ready to come out, but they haven't articulated yet, or they articulate, it takes them 10 minutes to explain who they are. And I go, what if you said it this way? Could you imagine what would happen if you could say your purpose in less than 10 words? And I have a suggestion for you. Do you mind if I share it, right? And to feel the energy of what happens when somebody actually recognizes they could say in seconds what took them 10, 15 minutes. For me, that's energy. So I'm actually getting energy from my calls throughout the day. It's amazing, actually.
You are in alignment. That's you're in alignment with your purpose, and it always does recharges us when we're not going against the grain.
Yes.
Doing what you're designed to do. That's quite insightful, and I'm sure you practice the 5 things, the 5 C's, to actually get them to kind of extract that out of them. For the purpose.
I'm thinking about that. I have to think about. So it's interesting on thought leadership and the 5 C's, and I'm going to think, because you started talking about that, I'm going to think about that more. Maybe I do more subconsciously than I think about. Because what I'm really doing when I'm talking with them is helping them understand, what does it mean to be credible? How do you show up? Because there are 10 values associated with credibility. And people who have been in business for a long time, they don't even recognize the importance of being likable. They don't recognize, and likable, we'll just share, there are 2 values associated with being likable. These are very simple. One is to spread, or I call it spreading somebody's cred dust. It is sharing your stage. So it's allowing other people, helping other people be seen. This is what you do with a podcast, right? So you're actually spreading cred dust. Cred dust is a word I made up, and it's in essence the lightness that comes into being when you share somebody else's ideas, thoughts, and actions. So one is sharing your stage, and second is showing respect. Mm-hmm. It's kind of simple to do, and surprisingly, not as many people do it. So that means coming early, coming prepared, coming with your heart. And so, if you take a look at Zoom, it'll show you that I was waiting in the Zoom room before you showed up, because to me, that is showing respect.
Right on. I gotta appreciate that. Well put too. It's simple. It seems easy, but just being aware and being aware to practice that. And what you give out is what you will receive. Right? It's what you will get back. So yes, well put. Tell us, where can we find you? How can we connect with you?
So, my website is probably the best place. It's mitchellevy.com. So that actually happens to be 3 L's when you put it together. You could go from there to LinkedIn. It's the social media platform I use the most. You could book time on my calendar if this was intriguing to you. And what I may encourage people to do is once a quarter, rerun the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp. As a matter of fact, do you mind if I give a gift at the end? Or I can do it now. So here's what's interesting. I would encourage you, I'm going to share a gift that I don't actually want to spread this URL everywhere. But for you and your listeners, what I'd like to say is we charge $2,000 for the Ultimate Credibility Bootcamp. It's a virtual 2-day event that will be very transformative to you. For your audience, when you're interested, what we do I call them the strategic partners. So we'll just call you and the audience that's interested. It's the same URL, ultimatecredibilitybootcamp.com, and put the slash and put the word special at the end. So ultimatecredibilitybootcamp.com/special. And instead of the $2,000 price, it's $300. And we'd love to have your audience come, because those people who are enlightened, who see the value of showing up credibly, because it is the path to becoming the thought leader in your space. That's really powerful.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for sharing that. We appreciate it. I love quotes. What's one quote you want to leave us with?
Oh, there's so many. You know, probably the easiest quote to leave you with is, you can't be credible externally until you're credible internally.
I like that. Right on. That is true. There's some facts all in there. Thank you so much, Mitchell, for sharing. It's been a delight having you on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure. Thanks for having me and showing me some peace.
Yeah. She fell asleep.
I saw that. That's amazing.
Awesome.
All right, morning enthusiasts, that's it for today's show. Thank you for tuning in. If you love the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast, we'd love to hear from you. So go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes or Google Play. While you're at it, tell a friend about the show. Be sure to visit bestmorningroutineever.com and our Facebook group to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic free bonus content. Until next time.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See detail.
Hey, I'm Ryan Reynolds. Recently, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass?" So to recap, we're cutting the price of Mint Unlimited from $30 a month to just $15 a month. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.